Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we're going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. This is episode 507, and if you listen to episode 506, we went super deep on protein, okay? And then I got a question, and this question comes from Kathy from South Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And shout out, by the way, to Alicia Jones, Casey Christian, amazing franchise partners, multi-unit franchise partners out in Oklahoma. And we really appreciate you and you, Kathy, for asking this question. Kathy's question is, how much protein do you actually need? Okay. Now, we go in depth on episode 506 on this question. And what I thought I would do, Kathy, for you is actually just take, we don't know each other personally, but I'm just going to take a general profile of a member, and I'm going to apply what we talked about in 506. I'm going to apply that here in Ask Devan Anything 507. And I'll also reiterate, so if you don't have time right now to go back and listen to 506, it is not a prerequisite to episode 507. But the question is, how much protein do you actually need? All right, and here is the profile of a person that I really want to make this practical for, okay? This person is a female in, middle of life, 35 to 55, somewhere in there, 135 pounds at 25% body fat, okay? Her goal is to stay the same weight, but to lose 10% body fat, okay? Which would inherently mean that you then replace that body fat loss with muscle, okay? So this would mean basically going from, let's say if you did the math on 135, that'd be like 33 pounds of muscle, and then losing 33 pounds of fat, and then losing 13 and a half pounds of muscle would take you down roughly around 20 pounds of fat. So our goal is to lose 13 and a half pounds of body fat if we were 135 and we reduced from 25%, 10% down to 15, okay? Now, we want to do this sustainably. So here would be the goal. If I was sitting down with you for a focus meeting and your goals were something like this, here would be the goal. We'd want you to aim between 0.5 and 1 pound of body fat per week. Let's just go on the little aggressive end, okay? Let's pretend, Kathy, that this is your profile, and we will just kind of talk right to you, okay? So Kathy sits down with me at a focus meeting and she says, DK, I am dedicated. I'm going all the way there. I'm going to listen to all the recommendations that you have. I'm not a person at this moment in my life that's going to be tempted because I've had so much pain from, feeling tired and feeling like I have no energy and feeling sick. It's becoming it's affecting my life in a negative way. And we all know that there's very few things in our lives, very few kind of highest order of priority things that actually matter. And one of those things is our health, our energy, because our energy impacts and influences every single thing that we do in our lives, from our business to our relationships. If we don't feel good, we usually tend to choose emotions down the lower spectrum. Negativity, anger, fear, shame, when we don't feel that positive energy. And you've been there. You've been in both places where you have the negative, but you also have that positive energy. And what's usually correlated with that positive energy? Physical congruency, mental, emotional, spiritual congruency, okay? 1 pound of body fat per week is Kathy's goal because she's disciplined. She's sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay, that means roughly then we have to have about a deficit off of what's called a total daily energy expenditure. You have to have a deficit of about 500 calories, which 5 times 7 equals 3,500. There's roughly 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat, okay? Which means now this is going to take 13 to 14 weeks, about 13 and a half weeks to lose the fat. Now, caveat, part of this goal is to get back up to 135 with muscle gain. These two things are going to happen in a staggered fashion. You can lose body fat, Kathy, much more quickly than you can actually gain muscle. So 1 pound of muscle per month, especially as a female, because males can gain, with higher testosterone, can gain muscle faster on average than a woman can gain muscle on average. And so maybe where a male might be 2 pounds a month in recommendation, I'm going to put you at 1 pound a month to set realistic expectations. If you're super advanced, then, you might, be a little bit less than that. But we're going to just, for this profile, you're going to be kind of middle of the road. You're fit, but you're not like overly fit, but you're also not very, underfit. Okay. So that's the profile. That's the goal. And now what we're going to do is talk about my recommendation for you, Kathy, okay? My recommendation for you is going to be the following. Like I said, we have to have a deficit. All the things we talk about in nutrition. So the Mac Daddy of all nutrition is still quality calories in, calories out. QCICO. Quality calories in, calories out. No matter what else we talk about, it's about quality calories in. If you eat too much of even good food, you're going to have a surplus, and if you don't, if you're too low, you're gonna be unhealthy. Let's just put it that way. Too much of a deficit is unhealthy. About the highest range of a deficit that I'm going to recommend for you is 500. I think anything over that, you're going to lose. You're going to lose body fat too fast. You might lose muscle. It depends on who you are, but let's just be safe and say the high end is 500 calorie deficit per day, which equals that 3,500 calorie per week, like I said earlier. Okay. The second recommendation for you is going to be 5 to 6 workouts every single week that are demanding training, not activity, not exercise, training. Okay. I want 2 conditioning workouts. I want 3 strength training workouts. And then that one protocol that we have at Burn, it's called Metcon. Okay, I want one of those workouts too. I want one of those workouts, but I want your Metcon workout, because you're trying to gain muscle, I want your Metcon workout to be more of a strength and less of a conditioning. And this is the one protocol at Burn that you can manipulate your rep range to either be in muscular endurance, if more conditioning is your goal, or hypertrophy, if strength training is your goal. So all my trainers out there too know this, that Metcon, if you had a Venn diagram, kind of sits right in the middle. It's not quite strength. It's not quite conditioning. It's if both of those had a baby. That's what Metcon is. And this is where personal training in a group setting comes at Burn Bootcamp, because now our trainers and you, Kathy, we get to know your goals. So your South Oklahoma City trainers, they're going to be able to say, okay, Kathy has this goal of 500 calorie deficit. She wants to gain a pound of muscle per month and lose a pound of fat per week. That means I need to take that Metcon day and make it more of a full body day, or more of a hypertrophy day, in which the rep range goes down from 8 to 15 reps in a rep range, rather than muscular endurance from 15 reps or more. Make sense? Say yes. All right. Okay, now this is going to put you based on my protein goals, okay? My protein goals, you're going to be anywhere from 1 gram per ideal pound of body weight. What was her ideal pounds? 135, okay? So that means the low range is 1.0, so 135. 1.2 times, so 135 times 1.2 would be the high range. That's 162. So your protein goal is going to be 135 to 162, all right? Now, here's where your goals are very serious, Kathy. So we're going to make sure that we have a very nuanced approach to our hypertrophy days or our strength days at Burn, where our goal is to maximize muscle protein synthesis, versus the days where we want to max lipolysis or burning our fat for fuel on conditioning days, okay? So I want you to pay close attention to this, because this is the one place that it might get confusing. It could be more simple than this, but Kathy's serious, right? She's ready to rock and roll. She sat down and said, I'm not a person that's tempted. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let's do this thing. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to maximize and optimize, and I got it. I'm going to then manipulate your carbohydrates on those 2 days differently. On the days where you do strength training, you're going to have 1.5 times 135, 200 grams of carbs. On the conditioning days, you're going to have 0.75 grams of carbs or 100 grams of carbs. So on conditioning, you lower your carbs, which you're going to keep your calorie deficit the same, which inherently means that your proteins stay the same and your fats go up. And on your hypertrophy days, your carbohydrates, especially post-workout, you're going to have, that'll be very important for you, is to have high carbohydrate days, or high carbohydrates and high protein on those hypertrophy days, okay? So if you had 135 grams of protein in a single day, you're going to want to manipulate the carbs on the hypertrophy days and the conditioning days accordingly, because you're going to have different goals, all right? Follow me there? I know that gets a little bit complicated, but on the strength days, protein synthesis is the goal. On the conditioning days, lipolysis is the goal. Okay, here's a couple other things that I want you to focus on. Okay, I want you to focus on, because you're serious, no alcohol or one, maybe 2 to 3 drink serving every 2 weeks at most. And I like to always give ranges rather than giving like hardcore prescriptions, because I found that we never follow real hardcore prescriptions. So everything I'm talking about is, has a 10% variation in range here. No sugar added, which can be very daunting for people. So let me give it to you a different way. Just look at all your carbohydrates, because all carbohydrates are sugar. Okay, say that again. All carbohydrates are sugar. Whether you eat a donut or whether you eat broccoli or whether you eat, it doesn't matter. It's all going to break down in sugar, but it's going to say it's not necessarily about, this is where hormones and the hormonal effect of food comes in. It's not whether the carbohydrate is a sugar or not, because it all breaks down into glucose, which ships to the muscles in glycogen, in the form of glycogen, stores in the muscles as glycogen. You're going to have 55 or less on the glycemic index scale. So just go to ChatGPT or go to Google, whatever carbohydrates that you're going to eat, I don't care what they are, as long as they're 55 or less on the glycemic index. And the glycemic index is the relationship to how carbohydrates interact with insulin. All right. And insulin spikes create the sensitivity around insulin. And ultimately, insulin is the hormone that tells your body to store fat as food, or store food as fat. So we don't want to have constant insulin spikes, because then we're constantly shipping food into fat stores. Very simply put. A couple more recommendations here. Before you go to bed, 20 to 40 grams of protein, preferably in a whey protein shake, or eggs. If you're using eggs, there's no need to couple a fat source. If you're using a whey protein shake, I want you to have a tablespoon of 100% almond butter. Okay, not almond butter that has like 10 grams of added sugar in it. Okay, flip it over. If it says almonds, then you're good. If it says anything other than almonds, then you're not good. Crazy Richards is my favorite brand. I want you to have, and I talked about this in episode 506, an 8 to 10 hour fast overnight. Okay, we can't be eating all the time. Our body needs a break from food. This is why break fast is actually called breakfast, because we're breaking the fast. We're meant to have a period of time where we're not eating so that our body can repair, recover, and ship those nutrients without worrying about utilizing energy sources to digest, okay? Give your digestive system a break overnight, my friends. And then when you do break the fast, again, go right back to that 20 to 40 grams, depending on your body weight, depending on your protein goals, of whey protein with almond butter or eggs, all right? This recommendation is going to help you, Kathy, really maximize your goals. There might be a little bit more to it than that, but the long and short of it is it's very simple. How much protein do you actually need was your question. And I decided to take you on a little journey around what are your goals, how much protein, and the reality is, at the end of the day, protein is the superstar macronutrient. Protein should be at minimum 100 grams just to function as an adult. and maximum at 1.2 grams per ideal body pound if you are a hardcore athlete. Muscle protein synthesis is one use of protein. Back in episode 506, I go through all the other uses because it's not only about gains, it's also about functionality. And I will stop it right there. If you guys have any questions, Devin.Klein on Instagram. You can comment on YouTube. We now have a Burn Bootcamp podcast Instagram that you can go follow as well and comment there. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, Kathy, thank you so much. Alicia, Casey, the entire OKC crew, shout out to you guys. Great question. And we will see you soon on episode 508. Coming your way soon. End it like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.